A South African woman is at the center of a developing immigration story in the United States, and her detention has sparked concern among people watching from South Africa and beyond. Her name is Nqobile Malangeni. She was detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement at an airport in Las Vegas while preparing to travel back to Connecticut. Authorities say she had overstayed her authorized period of stay, and that an immigration judge had already issued a final order of removal. But there is another deeply personal part of this story. Malangeni is reportedly pregnant, and her fiancé says he fears he could be separated from his future child if she is deported. Nqobile Malangeni is a South African national who has been living in the United States. According to ICE's account reported by South African media, she entered the United States on December 2, 2023. Authorities say she was authorized to remain in the country until June 19, 2024. The central issue in this case is what happened after that authorized period ended. ICE says Malangeni overstayed the period she was legally permitted to remain in the United States.
All right, so let's bring in Melissa Swart, immigration, refugee and citizenship attorney at Craig Smith and Associates, joining us now to weigh in on this story. Melissa, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. So it would appear then that Nqobile Malangeni is the latest casualty of the United States mass deportation campaign. What we know is that she is South African. She entered the U.S. legally 2 years ago, but that visa then expired. She's pregnant and she's been detained for close to 2 weeks now. Just walk us through what we're likely to see in the coming days as far as this case is concerned.
In the next few coming days, thank you. It is lovely to be on here as well. In the next couple of days, well, we say couple of days, but it could take a while because they have quite a long period which they are able to detain her for. But it is likely that they will move for her deportation back to South Africa. Seemingly at this stage, the facts are that she did have a visa. She did overstay it in contravention of their immigration laws. And it appears, that from their statement, she does have a final order of removal against her. And due process is followed ordinarily in these final orders of removal. So you do actually get a chance to appear. Even after a final order of removal is made, you do also get a chance to file, motions to amend, motions to reopen, to reconsider that decision. So it is interesting that, at this stage, it doesn't appear that any of those steps were followed by Ms. Malangeni.
Yeah, so ICE reportedly told her that there's a final order of removal against her. How serious is that, and what does that mean? Will she be not allowed to come back to the U.S. At a later stage? Because we know, of course, that she is in this relationship with an American citizen and she is pregnant.
Yes. So ordinarily when deportation takes place, it really just does depend on how they feel at that stage. But when you are deported back, or when she will be deported back to South Africa, that does not necessarily mean that she will never be able to go back to the US. They can either bar her for 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. But this will be where diplomatic relations will come in. At this point, the US ambassador for South Africa, Rolf Meyer, will have to step in and do damage control and try and see what he can limit in that regard.
Could she potentially then seek an adjustment of status or some form of waiver? The fiancé was making the point to authorities, we understand in reports that we're reading, that, he is a former member of the U.S. Army, and surely his military status somehow makes it more understandable for authorities to be more lenient, so to speak, towards his girlfriend, or in this case, somebody he's in a relationship with.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, but then again, it's why now after the fact that she's been, detained? Before a final order is granted, she does have the opportunity to appear before the immigration judge and give her facts and her side of the story. So it's, why did that not occur? And then even after the final order is given, there are certain things that she can do, but of course they all have time limits. It's now, that final order was allegedly granted in February this year already, and you have 30-day limits to file your notice to reconsider and your notice to reopen if there's new evidence. Were any of those steps taken at that stage?
Yeah, we don't know at this stage. From a South African perspective, what assistance, if any, can the South African government or any consular office provide for her? We know, of course, that the US, as an example, is quite lenient towards a certain grouping of South Africans who are currently allowed to travel to the United States.
Yes. So at this point, it's purely damage control will be from South Africa's side. Just because she is pregnant and she is in a relationship with a US national does not necessarily mean that, South Africa can just ask the US to bend their laws to make consideration for her. I think that would be a very hypocritical stance for South Africa to take as well, seeing how we treated, foreign nationals in the last few months that were here as well. I think it's going to be difficult, and it's just going to be damage control at this point to ensure that if she is deported, that she gets home safely, that she experiences as little stress. I mean, it's a stressful situation in any way, but she is pregnant, so that she experiences as little disruption as possible in that process, and, try to make things smooth so that she can come back. Her husband or her fiancé is always, able to come to South Africa as well. He's a US national, he's visa exempt, so he doesn't need to apply for a visa before coming to South Africa. And, just ensuring that if she is deported, that she's not banned for 10, 20 years in the future, but just, try and keep it as short of amount of time as possible.
Yeah, in fact, South Africans have been watching this development very closely, and some of the comments obviously suggesting that they don't have any problems with immigrants or migration as per se, but everything to do with, staying in a country legally or illegally in this case. I would imagine a lot of South Africans who find themselves in this particular quagmire, as Ms. Malangeni, are taking notes at this point in time.
Yes. No, definitely. And I mean, the facts are, unfortunately, while she did enter legally, she knows, or she knew, that her visa would expire at a certain point. And, almost 2 years have lapsed since then. What steps has she taken since then to remedy that fact? At this point, we don't know. And then even with the final order to remove her, there is an opportunity for her before the final order is made to set her side of the facts, to bring into consideration the fact that, she is in a relationship with a US national. They are to be married. But again, we don't know if these things were done.
Melissa Swart, thank you so much for your time. Of course, we'll see in the coming days what happens. That was
Immigration detention and criminal imprisonment are not automatically the same thing. The government can detain a person in connection with immigration proceedings or enforcement. So when reporting this story, don't tell your audience that Nqobile Malangeni was convicted of a crime unless you have evidence of a criminal conviction. The publicly reported basis here is an immigration overstay and a final removal order. This distinction is particularly important for your channel because it keeps your reporting factual rather than sensational. So what happens next? That depends on the legal proceedings surrounding her case. She could remain in immigration custody while the government proceeds with the removal order, while her legal representatives may pursue whatever remedies are available to her. The exact outcome cannot responsibly be predicted from the information currently available. And that's why we need to watch this story closely. This is a developing story, and there are still questions surrounding what happens next for Nqobile Malangeni. What we know is that she is a South African national who was detained by ICE in Las Vegas. ICE says she overstayed her authorized period of stay, and an immigration judge issued a final removal order earlier this year. Her fiancé is now publicly asking for help and expressing fears about their future family. What do you think about this case? Should immigration authorities enforce a final removal order even when someone is pregnant and engaged to a U.S. citizen or veteran? Or should cases involving family circumstances receive additional consideration? Tell me what you think in the comments, but let's keep the discussion respectful. If you want more South African, African, and international breaking news explained in simple language, subscribe to this channel. Turn on your notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.